Mnohaja Lita Mamo, happy birthday, Mother. I trust that everything is positive for you and that you are enjoying the company of many loved ones on this special day. Of course, I can personally only offer you this email. I am very aware that you cannot relate to what I try to communicate to you, but I know that at some level you are benefiting from my teachings. And therefore, I will probably continue this type of communication with you for as long as the internet is available to me. In my last long email to you, I mentioned that Malanka did not acknowledge the gift that I sent her for her birthday. In that email, I sent you that same gift, and you also did not respond in any way. Finally, I sent an email to Luba, communicating to her a situation with the silver I left behind for both my children, as well as a link to the video I made specifically for her. My daughter just missed the gold medal, yet again. I share with her my recent experiences. Of course, I did not receive a single word from Luba. Based on these three events, it appears as though all three of you conspired and decided that not responding to me is what is best for you. Of course, I know you did not conspire. This is simply how ego acts. Ego is the same in every single person, but it appears different because of our unique personalities. What I wish to underscore is that by not responding, you are all helping me along my evolutionary journey. Therefore, I'm very grateful to all of you. After writing my last email to you, I decided to make a video out of it. My spiritual teacher's son died of turbo cancer and turbocharged my evolution of consciousness. Because of Guillaume and his videos on youtube.com at incurable, I was able to finally accept that it is unlikely that my children will awaken in this lifetime. I've been more open to accept that probability as far as Greg is concerned, probably because he's a boy and he has his new family with Stephanie and Athena. However, it became obvious to me that I have not been able to let go of Luba yet. In her article, Leave the Mother and Give Oneself to the Mother, Madu explained the deep primal connection that is felt between mother and child. This deep ego program is so difficult to eliminate, even when one works on it consciously, that Mado's soul created the death of her second child, and of course, Guillaume's soul agreed to that as well, in order for Mado to reach her purpose, which is transformation of her body in this lifetime. My ego hopes that mine and Luba's creation will not be so extreme. Since Luba is also very important to you, I will use her for this next teaching and integrating. My separation incident with Luba was very minor in comparison to the abandonment Guillaume felt with Mado. Because of my past decisions, I had to involve Luba in my dental business. And because of that, she had to declare bankruptcy and lost the use of credit cards for 7 years. The following are the probable emotions Luba felt back then and unfortunately continues to feel today. Luba felt exploited, manipulated, obligated, powerless, and trapped. These emotions then turned into blame. She continues to feel betrayed and is therefore furious with me. Ego will do everything in his power to maintain these emotions because this feeds the victim mentality and therefore that grows the ego. Growing the ego is actually a good thing, most of the time. And Luba has certainly turned her anger and resentment into positive self development. I will, however, clarify. Growing the ego is good and necessary. However, festering negative emotions only hurts Luba. I'm thousands of miles away. I do not feel Luba's negativity towards me. Her ego believes that she's hurting me by ignoring me and not having any contact with me. In fact, she's only hurting herself. Negative emotions fester over time, and that is what creates cancers. The mRNA shots then turbocharge the cancer, which is typically already growing in most people because of one conflict or another. This is why Guillaume died so quickly after accepting the shot, and why so many young people are now dying at very young ages. This is from the video I made for Luba. Luba, your focus, your determination, your relentless hard work is absolutely breathtaking. Personally, I can't even begin to imagine what you experience. Luba, with your incessant training and dedication to self improvement, you have been growing and developing your ego. Definitely not a waste of time. Most people do not develop their ego so actively, intensely, and tirelessly. Therefore, even if your ego does not get what he wants, your soul is getting what she wants. Soul is the one that created your first gold medal win. That event sent you on this quest for accomplishing more. Every time your ego does not get what he wants, you push on and develop yourself more and more. Will your ego eventually get what he wants? I do not know. However, I suggest that you examine more closely your emotions by questioning yourself on what will happen when my ego gets what he wants. Ego is insatiable. He always wants more and more. He will never be happy with an achievement because he will always want something else. Therefore, it is a vicious cycle which never ends. Soul uses ego by initially giving him what he wants, in order to eventually develop the ego personality to a very confident, self-accomplished individual. This type of individual is typically a big black sheep or even a yellow sheep, which is a good thing, because of individualization. This type of individual is not a follower and does not need the herd of a bunch of white sheep to help the needed feeling of security, which comes from the company of others. On top of the negative emotions towards me, which Luba developed and probably festered over the years, she also felt rejected by many of the other family members, starting with her brother. From the few comments which I heard over the years, Luba has been somewhat avoiding family gatherings. She possibly feels that her efforts in the bodybuilding competitions are not appreciated or recognized as a positive goal and life direction. Luba's ego needs to win, to show everyone that she is right and they are wrong. This need to show everyone that I am right and everyone else is wrong has largely been my issue over the last 13 years. This is why my attempts to be successful with the Sacha Inchi project has failed up until now. Once I let go of my ego need to be right and surrender to my soul more sincerely, The Sacha Inchi started responding. I'm absolutely convinced that Luba will only reach her goal once she releases her negative emotions towards me and everyone else. I come back to what I included in my video to her. When ego is big and strong enough, soul creates the necessary tragic situation in her attempt to break the ego and starts dissolving it. Example, you witness my ego growing and becoming very strong, confident, arrogant, self-righteous, and so on. Then I went to prison and lost everything that I had so diligently built up over 50 years. Mado did everything in her power to be the perfect mother, taking care of a mentally retarded son, homeschooling her other two children, living in a straw bale house, and gardening to be environmentally conscious, until her soul made her choose her son or her soul. Then, since her commitment to her soul was still not complete, her soul created the death of her other son. It is crystal clear with just these two examples that ego must be eventually broken and completely dismantled and dissolved. This is what most humans do not understand at all. Humanity's purpose is to eventually dissolve the ego completely. Ego was absolutely necessary for the intelligent animalistic phase of humanity. It is, however, not needed in the next divine human phase. The human ego is so arrogant and self-absorbed that it cannot imagine for a second that there is anything beyond the intelligent human. Further, there are thousands of sub-personalities inside of the overall ego personality, in every person. Picture provided by Mado. When I managed to dissolve my dentist, businesswoman, successful entrepreneur personalities, the overall ego disguised itself and created new personalities. Example, coffee farmer, spiritual teacher, savior of my children, my family, and humanity. With this example, one can see that I have not dissolved my overall ego. The difference between me and Luba at this time is that I am conscious of the work that must be accomplished and the purpose of this individual inner work. Every single human must accomplish this work, but clearly most will not accomplish it in this particular lifetime. There is one more ego personality which I have developed even more after dissolving my major personalities. I wanted to save my children from the suffering. I have now finally integrated the acceptance that every single human soul is the only one that knows the specific journey of the individual. Even if I am the mother, I cannot interfere in the divine journey of Luba or Greg. I include here a few parts of my apology video to you. I called you Marika for the first time in my life, and then quickly realized that I had made a huge mistake. My ego convinced me that calling you by your first name would somehow decrease my daughter ego personality. You thanked me for that video and told me that you listened to it 3 times and that you still don't understand what I'm trying to communicate to you. Possibly now, 1 year later, you will understand a few more details. Here are some of the more important parts. My 2-year incarceration served me immensely. It aggressively pushed me on my journey of identifying and then letting go, one by one, of my many ego personalities. The first huge personality I had to let go was the one of the successful dentist and businesswoman. The Canadian system did not want to lose a very profitable taxpayer. Therefore, I had to leave Canada and never return. At that stage, I was at a level of consciousness in which the system had no more control over me. On this diagram of the 7 levels of ascension, I had reached level 5 of awareness, brightness, or the 3rd floor in the tower. I could clearly see all the white sheep in the distance. What I did not yet integrate is that I was still at the yellow sheep level of consciousness. That was back in early 2018. When COVID started, I became convinced that I would finally be able to show my family members the evidence of all the lies in the system. For 22 years, I tried every possible way to communicate truth consciousness to my family. And in the end, I concluded that I am energetically so far away from all of my family members that there is absolutely nothing more to say. I finally faced my greatest fear, the fear of completely disconnecting from my family. Religious attachments are very strong for most people. I call it, don't touch my Jesus. As strong as religious attachments are, they are nothing compared to family attachments because the family relationship is the connection to the survival of the species. The intelligent animalistic survival program is so deeply rooted that family detachment cannot be faced by most. It became clear to me that if I write my character out of the play, I can no longer offer advice, make comments, or suggestions, or provide any type of guidance or information because I am now a spectator of the play or the game and completely out of the drama. I remember who I am is one of Guy's most important charts. Note the I remember key. This is a very complex chart. Please note in the need column, relationship. The associated fear is solitude, and the conflict is separation. This is what I have been struggling with up until now. In order to break out of the trap and not reincarnate yet again into the simulation matrix, I must raise the vibrational frequency of my body to the consciousness level of the winged mare, or number 7, enlightenment, on the roof of the tower. I left my role in the play because the play is in the illusion. It is hell on earth with its 3 characters, the victim, the savior, and the culprit. In this play, there is constant drama. In the illusion, I am in constant separation, which leads to fear and war. The war is between me, the human, and my true self, my soul. This inner war is what eventually leads to death. Once I make the union between me and my higher self, I am in love, and infinite love leads to peace, perfect health, and immortality. Finally, and most importantly, I extend my gratitude to Bogdan and Marika. Thank you for agreeing to be the vehicles which produce this amazing, perfect body of mine. This body has served me extremely efficiently for over 63 years now. Thank you for the gift of perfect siblings. And most importantly, thank you for creating the perfect family environment as a Ukrainian Canadian for my most effective evolution of consciousness. You have both been there for me throughout my extreme challenges. You have never abandoned me, even though you could not understand me. Although I have now left the play in the triangle of hell, I will never forget that you gave me the gift of life. Mamo, I will also remind you of my dedication page in my book, True Freedom is Inside of Me. Dedication. This book is dedicated to my parents, Maria and Bogdan. They provided the perfect environment and life circumstances for my personal evolution of consciousness. I express my infinite gratitude and love. Mother, your tears have contributed to the awakening of my soul. I empathize with you. Father, your strength has given me direction in life. I will always remember your words. I will remember you and love you for eternity. You were generous with your time. You learned to understand me. I offer this book to you with love. Тетяна, мамо, сльози твої зворушили мене на душі. Я співчуваю з тобою. Тату, сила твоя мені дала напрям мого життя. Не забуду твої слова. Я вас не забуду. Вас любити буду до кінця віків вічних. Часу не жаліли, мене зрозуміли. Дарую цю книжку з любов'ю для вас. Тетяна. I now go back to Luba. I am conscious that Luba, like every other perfect soul inside a human body, has created for herself the perfect journey. Even though I am her earthly mother, I can never know what her journey is all about. However, I can offer my guidance. I'm also conscious that Luba may never accept it. Guillaume was most definitely a young soul. His ego was probably quite small, and he was therefore very insecure most of his life. This type of ego will never get out of the way because it is too fearful and does everything in its power to protect itself from all the outside dangers. This type of ego does not realize throughout his entire lifetime that infinite power is inside of him. What is important for all of us to learn from this example is that there is nothing to be sad about. Madon knows very well that the soul in Guillaume turbocharged her learning and evolution in the final years of Guillaume's life on earth. That soul did not waste 80 to 90 years to learn her lessons. She did it in 35 years. Now, that soul can return into the game as a more mature soul, ready to take on more challenging lessons and progress more effectively on the evolutionary journey. Of course, that soul has to start up once again as a baby. My mother ego personality, which continues to be quite strong, is not at all ready to let go of Luba or Greg, especially not this early. So, will Luba awaken to the level where she will want and ask for my guidance? I do not know. All I know is that my participation as a spectator of this game is far from over. I have many more ego personalities to consciously dissolve. Will I make it in time? In this lifetime? I trust that I will. I believe that Gi is in the fourth dimension. She broke through the trap and will not be returning back into the 3D game. Will Mado, myself, and the needed critical mass of individuals transform our physical bodies in time here in 3D Earth? My ego will never have the answer to that question. I will simply continue to actively move forward, doing everything that is in my power to do. I'm here, as long as the internet is available to me, ready to be of service to everyone who asks for my guidance. I communicated that to Markian on his 60th birthday. I communicate this again to you, Mamo, Malanka, Markian, Luba, and Greg through this email. I trust that you have benefited from my explanation a little more than what I offered last year. Happy birthday, Mamo. Your earthly daughter, infinite love, Tatiana. From millennium slavery to individual sovereignty. Let's rejoice, because the insanity we are experiencing is an illusion, which is pushing more and more of us to awaken. Our world is in an evolutionary crisis, because the human mind is ready to go beyond rational intelligence to a greater consciousness. In the Orient, in the 20th century, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother discovered and anchored truth consciousness, the supramental consciousness in the earthly atmosphere. Since then, the supramental consciousness has been operational on Earth as an active evolutionary power. Once well anchored, the new consciousness was ready to move on to the next stage, its popularization and propagation. In the West, in the 21st century, emerged personal creation. Sri Aurobindo synthesized the Eastern and Western ideas of evolution and boldly declared that humans are transitional beings. They're not final. Evolution continues, and humans will be surpassed. This is the future awaiting humanity. This is an unprecedented adventure of consciousness on Earth. One single and sincere look at the present world situation is enough to convince us that it has reached the point of no return. Let's stop repeating our obsolete ways, which can only bring more suffering. Let us all spread the contagion of infinite love. In these times of irremediable dissolution of the illusion, let us keep our faith ardent with an unfailing sincerity. We must choose our soul at all costs. Infinite love.